G'day trendsetters, welcome back to the BNSF Birdwood sub, episode 3. As you can see, I've been a bit busy. This is the third week since my last update, so I've had my finger out and I'm getting stuck into the bench work. In this update I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how I'm doing my bench work roughly. And as you can see, I'm not attaching the brackets directly to the wall. A couple of reasons for this. One, the wall can handle it. The steel framing is rated to hold shelf loads, so it's not really a problem. But I really want the weight borne down onto the floor rather than hanging off the walls. That's just me being a bit anal, I suppose. And secondly, what it does, it forces you to keep your tracks at least the width of the stud away from the wall, because like most railroaders, you try and squeeze in every little pinch. And with the stud running from floor to the top level, it just forces you to keep that little bit away from the wall so you can fit in some scenery. So I sort of did that on purpose because I knew that I would be running right up against the wall to get that extra passing lip in or whatever. So it's sort of having a separate framework for the bench work there gives you a few benefits. So let's have a closer look at these studs, I suppose, with their brackets on, and we'll show you how they're made. Okay, you can see how the actual bracket here, this is made out of 3/4 inch ply or 20mm ply, standard 70 to 35mm stud, and you can see it's checked in here. So that's flush with that there, and the actual bracket, the weight of the bracket is borne on the timber here. So all the screws are doing really is holding it in place. They're not actually copping the static load. So that's the way you really should do load-bearing bench work if you can. So all the weight is actually borne on this timber here, and all the screws do is sort of keep it in place. So what I'm going to do is show you how we check out these studs here. That sounds a bit gay, doesn't it? I'm just going to go and check out some studs. No, not like that. Checking out means cutting out a piece of timber here, so I know that the piece will fit into it. So it depends on where you are, I suppose. If you're in King's Cross, checking out some studs could be a night out. Anyway, we'll show you how we do that. Okay, well, I've cut my studs and got them all the same length here. So now we just have to mark out on the studs here where the checking out is going to go, and we'll go from there. Rightio, this is our top line here. That's where the top of the cross piece will go. So this is our top bit here, using 90mm for this particular one. So we'll put that on there like that, line that up with that line. And this is a basic workshop, 101 really, for guys and girls who may not have done much of this stuff and thinking about building a layout. Now, there's our two lines. What we need to do, we want this to be a snug fit in this checkout here. We don't want it flopping around. So with these two lines here, we want to leave them. So when we cut them out, leave the lines just so you can see them, so we get a nice cut, nice tight fit. If you cut the lines away, you're going to have a little bit of movement in there. So we'll show you how to do that next. Okay, trendsetters, now, first things first, when you're working with any power tools, safety glasses. They may be a pain in the bum, but you don't want to end up like me and only be able to see out of one eye. So always use these. I don't care if you don't wear gloves. If you cut a finger off, well, pick another one to pick your nose with, but if you lose an eye, it's no fun, I'll tell you. So, always safety glasses. Once you get used to wearing them, it becomes like a habit. They're a pain in the ass, but do it. You've got 10 of these to choose from. Not that I'm saying cut your fingers off, but you've got 10 of these, you've only got 2 of these. In my case, you've really only got 1, so look after the bloody things. So, safety glasses first. Okay, well, I've set my depth on my saw by adjusting the bottom here, the plate. So I'm going to cut about 10 mil, which is half the thickness, roughly a bit more than half the thickness of this timber. So this will sit in here, down there about 10 mil, and that'll give it a nice little area to sit in. So, how to cut square with a handsaw? Well, use a square. Now you should, by rights, you set this all up, clamp a bit of timber across here, or clamp the square to the timber, and then use two hands on the saw. That's what you should do. Now line the teeth up. Now remember, we're going just on the inside of the line. Okay, so we've cut this one here, just on the inside of the line, and now we're going to go down, where are we? It's the other way. Now we're going to cut just on the inside of the line with this one here. We've cut out these two lines here. Now all we have to do is remove the timber from this area in here. Now, I'm going to be using a router to get rid of all this material. But what I'm going to do, so I don't have to route out all this in one go, I'm going to do a few more cuts across here, roughly chisel out most of the timber, and then I just need to use the router to clean up the bottom rather than doing a whole lot with a router, which is a lot slower and makes a lot more mess. Come back from the other side so we don't splinter the other side out. That'll do. Let's get the Randy router out. Rightio, trendsetters. Well, we've checked out a little space here, roughly with the chisel. And now we're going to use the Mighty Festo router to finish the job and give us a nice smooth and even finish in this checkout here. So, any of you who've used a router knows that they're a machine of the devil. And you cannot use them freehand, they just go crazy. Unless you've got a tip with if you're trimming or something, you can get little tips with ball bearings on them that you run along the surface. You do that by hand, but if you're doing this sort of thing, especially with a big tip, that's about a 10 mil or 12 mil, I think it is, tip in there. And this is a big machine, it will just take it and you'll do freehand, it'll just destroy the job. So, you've got to keep your router under control. So, how do we do that? Well, we know that we can't go any more past that line, obviously. So you set your router up and you have a look. So the tip, the cutting tool, is just away from that line a little bit. You can't see it, but it's in here. I can see it looking down from the router. And I know that about there, I can't go if I go any further than that, then I'll get into the timber here. So we need to put a fence up or a jig. So I'm just going to use this. It's actually a bracket here, a spare bracket that I use as a template. And make sure that it's 90 degrees across here, running parallel with your cutout lines. And we'll clamp that to our studs, and then I can butt up against that with the side of the router here, and I know I can't go any further that way. It's groovy, baby. Okay, so we've checked this out now. I'm just going to go along here with the chisel and the nizzle and just take out just a couple of little bits in there that were getting in the way there. Always use two hands on a chisel, that way you can't cut yourself. You can cut your mate, but don't cut yourself. If you do something like this, boom, these are sharp. So always two hands on a chisel, unless of course you've got one on the hammer. Duh. Okay, the trouble with routing out something this wide is that it is wider than, almost as wide as the router frame. So, where are we? I was going around this way. So when you get to here, you run the risk of the router falling off. So you've got to be very careful that you don't go too far. So it's really, this width here is probably too wide to do this way. Unless you continually travel in one direction and don't take out any before you actually use the router. But it's one of those things you just have to choose which way you feel like you're happy doing it with. But let's have a look, trendsetters, and see whether I stuffed it or fluked it. Oh, look at that! Like a finger in a bum. Okay, so I'm doing 4 studs in one go because A, it's a lot quicker, and B, that's about what my clamps will hold. So, but there you go. So let's have to do the other end, and I'll show you that once that's done. And what we're actually doing with this is making the frame for the peninsula section. So we'll show you that virtually completely done today. So I'll run away and do this other end, and I'll be back in just a few moments. Thanks very much. Now, trendsetters, I'm just checking my measurements here again for my top and bottom brackets. As my dear old late dad used to say, measure twice, cut once. That's the golden rule with anything really that you're making, even if you've got to measure 3 or 4 times. So that's good. That's good. Because as one of my old bosses used to say, there's never time to do it properly, but there's always time to do it again. Best doing it right the first time, I think. Okay, trendsetters, welcome back. We've got our front and our rear stubs checked out, as you can see there. And now all we have to do is assemble the cross pieces. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we've got our 2 checked out sections here. This is our cross piece that's going to sit in the checks there. I've already marked my outside extremities that have to line up with the studs there. So now it's just a matter of putting some PVA glue in there and screwing them in. And the beauty of cutting all these all in one go is that they are nice and square, so it's easier to square the whole thing up in the end. So let's put it together. Okay, our glue's in. Line him up with the line there. A little bit of love. Line up this one over here. There we go in there. Just come over a little bit. Bit of a love tap. Oops. Now, if you're going to be hitting timber, always get another block of timber that you can thrash with. Hear that change note there? Bang, bang, boom. When it gets deeper, then you know you've bottomed out, baby. Look at that. For an electrician, that's not a bad work. Not a bad job at all. Oops. Okay, let's do the other side and see how we go. This isn't a train set, trendsetters, this is furniture. Except that I'm dropping glue everywhere here. Oh, don't let the workshop manager see that. I mean teacher. Oops. Oh, some wet rag, we'll get rid of that. Now once again, double check our measurements. 800, beautiful. Should be 300 each side. Which it is, beautiful. Okay, now we can screw it together. Okay, one last thing before we screw it together. Just get a nice to have one of these big squares here and put that in there like that and make sure that she's all square, which it is. Beautiful. Now I'm only going through the top piece of timber here and just a tiny little bit into the stud. So you don't split the top and you want all the screw to be biting in. If you put a big hole all the way through there, the screw will strip in the timber. So just put a pile of hole through there and it'll start it into the bottom bit and you'll be sweet as. You'll be happy to know, Kev, that I finally bought a battery drill. I've worn out 2 drills on this job and I've been borrowing my mate's battery drill. So Kevy, I bought a new drill. I'm just not using it yet. Nice, 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 nice. Just making sure the glue's being squirted out underneath here. I love the smell of pine in the morning. Takes me back to my workshop days at school. Okay, trendsetters, well, ta-da! Here's our fixed finished frame, and for obviously the bottom level, top level. Now I have 3 more of these to make for a total of 4, so I'll run away and do that, and we'll come back and we'll put them all together to start the framework for the peninsula. Okay, trendsetters, well, here we are. I've had lunch, cup of tea, hung out my own washing. I got to do everything. That's the price of being single, I suppose. Now, we're done. So let's have a look and see what they look like in place. Here are our 4 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our cross pieces. Rebaited into here, like we did. Now, there's more timber to go along here like this. Our frames like that, and then our track is supported on cross members that go this way. Good. We have our parallel rails going this way, and then our, let's call them joists, go across here like this, and they'll be every 600 or every 500 along here like that. Then there'll be uprights, and the uprights are what support our roadbed. Too easy, Camp Easy. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed Carpentry 101 today, trendsetters. For those of you that are thinking of building a layer and haven't done much carpentry or stuff like that, give it a go. And anyone who says, I'm building a model railroad and someone laughs at you, well, you can tell them there's a lot more involved than what they think. And if they do laugh, they probably have no idea. But to be a model railroad, you have to be a bit of everything. So I hope you've enjoyed this particular segment. The next one will be laying roadbed. So we'll finally get running trains. Don't panic, it'll happen one day. Won't happen overnight, but it will happen. Thanks, trendsetters.
Hooroo for now.